Welcome to this special episode of Listen to This Bull. We have a guest on here that does not want to be named, so we're going to call him Chris. He's going to talk about an app that has come out that has a lot of potential, I think, of doing a lot of good, but it's also got the potential, and it has already caused a little bit of an uproar in places from some specific big name people on LinkedIn, Steve Badger, basically. All right, so I've got Chris on audio only. How you doing, Chris?
Good, Matt. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. We understand you're having a little bit of back and forth on LinkedIn. I got to see some of that with some of our good buddies on the carrier side of things. They aren't too happy with what you've done.
Well, yeah, it's kind of been an interesting couple weeks of the launch of the app. Wasn't expecting for, like you said, people, I guess in the higher ups to even recognize the app, let alone name drop me on LinkedIn. But it's obviously caused quite a disruption in the industry, I think, a little bit. And I think that's good.
I think so. Well, it depends. I mean, disruption by itself is not always good, but what you've put together is something that I think could be rather useful. There are no other ways of doing this. So pull it up on my screen real quick so the audience can see it. What you've got here is something called AdjusterHub. And AdjusterHub is an app that allows you to rate the insurance adjuster that goes out on site.
It allows not only the contractor who is selected by the policyholder or homeowner to represent them during the process, but it also allows the policyholder or homeowner to look up any local insurance adjuster as well, which might give them a heads up about what type of person they're meeting and their industry reputation.
So as a concept as a whole, the ability to rate the adjusters that are going on site, I think, is actually a really good idea. Personally, I think it's important that adjusters have some kind of a watchdog associated with them. Insurance companies don't know what's going on very often. We often see videos online where an adjuster spends 4 minutes on a roof and gets off and leaves. Having some kind of information portal that you can pull up and show what's going on with a specific adjuster. So if you were in the industry and you had that adjuster coming out, if you could look them up and get a good idea of their ratings and their reviews on here before you meet with the adjuster, you might have a good idea what you're about to get into. What kind of information is presented when you look someone up?
Well, first and foremost, the app is a tool, supposed to be a tool to help the policyholder. It's not an app or a tool that's used to bash in any way an insurance adjuster. It's basically to look up the type of person that you're meeting. And that's through their reputation within the industry based upon their interactions with all of the contractors they meet. Excuse me. So when you pull up the app and you select your insurance company, you can then look up any local insurance adjuster in your area if they're currently in the app. If not, you can add them. If they are in the app, you can click on their profile and it'll bring up information with, just like Google, you have a 1 to 5 star review system. You also have a section where there's the most commonly selected terms that are used to describe that person based upon prior interactions with other contractors or policyholders. And, just like Google or Yelp or Glassdoor, it's a public forum, so to speak, to gather information and portray it to the public.
So can someone write just any kind of a note in there then to let people know what happened?
So there's not anything in place for someone to leave an open-ended review. The reason for that being is I didn't want to create another outlet for someone to sit behind a computer all day and write negative comments about a specific person. because they didn't like the person for whatever reason, or they felt that that specific adjuster or inspector did a bad job. You know, a bad job could be looked at as subjective. So what I did instead was create a list of terms that could be deemed positive or negative. Those terms could be friendly, communicative, on time, or they could be viewed as a negative through a negative lens as non-communicative, rude, impatient. So none of the terms used are meant to be hurtful. It's mostly just to state what kind of person you've interacted with. And I think that's really important. And honestly, I'm surprised that not all insurance companies offer a review system after their experience anyway. You know, a lot of homeowners don't even have that opportunity.
No, they don't. I mean, you can review the insurance company as a whole on a lot of different websites. You can file complaints, and that'll give an idea from state to state on which companies have the most complaints. So that can help with rating systems. Consumer Reports has a rating system overall, but there isn't anything for the TPA firms specifically, or for the individual adjusters or engineers. I know of other people that have had a similar idea and have started building out something similar as well. But ultimately, I think having something like this exist is a good thing. I do have a few things, though, that are a little bit odd about it. The fact that we are using this strictly for the use of a roofing contractor that might be out on site. I realize that it's not generally the policyholder that is going up on a roof with someone, but why would the policyholder not be able to also write a review for someone?
Well, they can. I mean, the app isn't strictly limited to contractors. The way that the industry is really set up, and I'm only speaking on experience of being both an inspector on behalf of a large insurance carrier and prior working as a contractor for a couple different roofing companies, is that the insured oftentimes doesn't really have any insight or information regarding the claims process. Maybe they've done it once before or twice, but they're not the ones that they typically are out meeting the insurance company. They
Right.
hire or contract somebody who is more intelligent in the industry, which would be the contractor, to represent them during the process. Just like the insurance company hires out insurance adjusters or inspectors to represent them. So I think it's only fair that the insured has someone to represent them. And I would say for the most part, contractors would be the person who would be using the app most, just because they're the ones that are dealing directly with the insurance adjuster or inspector.
Yeah. Contractors would do that. Public adjusters would deal directly with them as well. But generally speaking, the vast majority are going to be contractors. Does the person writing the review, does it say who wrote the review on the app?
No, I purposefully left that part out as well. It's 100% anonymous. You know, I can just keep going back to Google reviews, right? Anyone can sit behind their computer all day and create whether it's their real account or a fake account, and they can open-ended bash a restaurant and bury that restaurant or any kind of business online. And that could create tension if it did lead back to a contractor doing that, because obviously a contractor is going to be meeting the same insurance adjuster or inspector. That typically happens fairly often throughout a season. And I'm not trying to create any more tension that currently exists between insurance companies and contractors / the insured or policyholder. The reality is that there is tension between the two parties. I'm certainly not trying to create any further tension, but I do think it's very important that the insurance companies are held accountable for the people that they hire and the people that they decide to represent themselves when they go out to perform an inspection.
And It's not like the contractors don't have a review system out there already as well.
Exactly.
It
I
would be
mean,
easy for an adjuster to go on after doing something with a contractor and giving them a low rating if they wanted to. That's all over the place.
and that was the thing that, Badger on LinkedIn, he kind of threw me under the bus and made this app feel like it was strictly in a negative context. And if I wanted it to be just negative, I would have created an outlet to where you only have negative terms to select, right? Or maybe there is the option to leave open-ended responses. But
Yeah.
I didn't do that. This app also has the ability to praise those adjusters or inspectors that do their job well, and many of them do. Just like there's many contractors that do their job well. There's going to be bad apples in every bunch, but I'm not trying to highlight those. I am trying to praise those that do their job well, and I'm also trying to set up a tool where those people who inspectors or adjusters who have a history of not doing their job well, and that's strictly with the policies the insurance hires them to uphold. If they're not upholding those policies, then they should be held accountable.
I keep thinking back upon my own experiences. With my company, All Good Adjustments, we had a large volume of claims. And so our CRM was designed to have the carriers, and then their adjusters were attached to those carriers, and we could go into the adjuster profiles and we could leave notes on that profile about our experiences with that adjuster. And that way I could always go back. If I was meeting with someone, I didn't remember their name or who they were, I could click on their profile in my own CRM and see our own internal notes about them. The carriers have something very similar for everyone that they meet on site. They've got internal notes with everybody on them. I know because I've seen my own name with MetLife before they got bought out, which was really cool.
And being a roofing contractor in the past, this idea already happens. This idea already existed. This idea has just not been centralized on a public app, where now instead of me asking 12 of my coworkers if they've ever met adjuster ABC, I can look online where potentially hundreds or thousands of other contractors who's been in contact with this adjuster can leave their opinion, and I can see on a broader scale.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Our internal stuff was so much benefit from it. We were able to identify, what kind of a person we were getting involved with before we met out there. And most of the time it was, praise for these guys, where I had some information about their background or something, so I could ask them about their kids again or something along those lines. But when we were able to go back out on site and know what we were getting into, it was a lot easier. We even had inside there links to our individual claims that we had met the guy on, so that we could go back into those claims and see how they progressed as well. But having that information was invaluable for my own internal use at my company. 100%. So having this available widespread is very valuable. The reason it worked at my company is because we had high volume. We were doing like 3,000 claims a year. So we had a lot of people we were working with. If you're not doing high volume, then you can't get an overall feel of all the adjusters that are out there. And so if you're not doing high volume, having access to an app like this to be able to see who you're getting involved with would be very beneficial. Now, you can't put certain information in here that we were putting in ours. You can't put anything in there about, their kids are graduating next year with this kind of a degree or something along those lines, and have a baseline to have some kind of a rapport with them going into it. But you can see if someone's going to be very rude to you, or likely not have any idea of what they're doing before they show up. I don't know how you would use that information other than preparing yourself for not the greatest thing in the world. Do you think a policyholder would be able to use an app like this to request a different adjuster?
No, I don't think so, because, and I could be incorrect, but I don't believe that insurance companies will swap out an adjuster specifically because an insured doesn't like that person for whatever reason. I could be incorrect, but in my experience, that hasn't happened. The app itself was created simply because in my better part of a decade experience on the contracting side, I can't tell you how many claims were denied that should have been rightfully approved. And they weren't denied because the damage wasn't there. They were denied because the person representing the insurance company didn't have any business being in charge of approving or denying thousands of dollars on a claim, whether that be due to their inexperience or whether that be due to them coming in with a biased headspace, or sometimes their ego got in the way. And that's not the way that this should be run. And I think that's what's upsetting the insurance side, right? We're shining a light on those people that allow their emotions to dictate the outcome of a claim for a homeowner who's paid their premiums and should be rightfully indemnified when the case is correct. Now, obviously, there are some contractors who sign up claims that shouldn't, right? Those are the bad apples in the bunch. But the bad apples in the bunch on the insurance side are those who show up to the appointment ready to battle the contractor when we're supposed to be showing up together to benefit the homeowner, right? So out of personal experience of losing one important 100% commission on the contractor side, if he's counting on those commissions because that's his bread and butter to put food on the table, and they're being denied for the wrong reasons, well, that contractor has skin in the game, and it's justified of why he or she could be upset. But more importantly, it's for the policyholder. It's for the policyholder to be represented properly and make sure that they're being indemnified the full amount that they should.
Yeah, I mean, this can only improve from here as well. It's fairly basic in that you can give them an overall rating, but I can tell you this: the engineering firms have ratings on Google.
Everyone has ratings.
I definitely know of claims where a policyholder was able to request a different engineering firm based on that engineering firm's rating.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I have a leak in my plumbing, what do? What do most people do? They go online, they might ask their friends, they look up reviews, and they make a decision mostly based upon others' prior experiences with that company or person. So why shouldn't we have the same scale for insurance adjusters or inspectors?
I agree.
Well, I think one is because the insurance companies are now, it's very transparent for them, right? It's transparent for everybody now that we can single out a certain person and say, hey, out of 1,000 inspections, 900 people said that this guy was rude. Well, is that harmful to the person? No, that's an opinion that 900 out of 1,000 people said that person was rude. Why would I want to do business with someone who's rude if that's going to dictate the outcome?
Exactly. And the more people that adopt this and actually use it, the more beneficial it'll become, because once you have that many data points, even if some of the data is skewed by personal opinion or someone that was the bad apples that are trying to do certain things, with that many data points, though, a lot of that will kind of bleed away. And the average overall opinion is still going to show consistency. So if there is 1,000 people that rates an adjuster and 88% of them say that he's rude, the dude's rude. That's just the way it is.
And so that's not to belittle
as an insurance company, I wouldn't want to send someone out that's known as being rude to my clients. They're less likely to keep the insurance going if they're represented by someone rude. So this could be very useful for the carriers as well.
And that was the other reason why it was developed, because the way that it's designed and coded, I can export data to the insurance company and I can show them with actual numbers. And maybe they already have that metric system on their side. I don't know. If
Maybe.
they have an adjuster who denies 1,000 claims out of a year, and 500 of those claims are then turned over to be approvals based upon damage actually being there. Obviously, a contractor is going to file a reinspection, or the homeowner is going to file a reinspection if the damage is there. And 500 of those get turned over for approvals. Well, what does that say about the adjuster? It says that maybe he or she needs to be trained a little bit better. Be trained a little bit better, or maybe be removed. I mean,
make him a manager immediately.
Well, it benefits them, right? It benefits them to deny 1,000 claims, because maybe 500 of those that should have been approved, maybe the homeowner says, okay, I trust my insurance company, and they don't go for the reinspection. Well, that means the insurance company saves money when it should have been paid out.
It's true.
So if I can share that data with the insurance company, if they're interested in knowing it, that boils down to their principles. Are they in a business to stay positive and make money, or are they in a business to represent the people who pay them to represent them?
Well, we'll see how this ends up working out. This is a fairly new app. We need to get the word out that it exists. And thanks to Badger, a lot more people know about it than before. So I think that went against what his intention was. But there it is. I really appreciate that this exists, man. Thank you for doing this. It's completely free for everyone.
Exactly.
All that work you've put into this, you're not making any money.
It's
great.
It's free. So free out of principle. I just want to bring some transparency to the issues that everyone deals with. We're all dealing with it on both sides. Let's figure it out and move in a positive direction for both parties, But you also having me on here is helping it out. The app, get some recognition. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate
it. And right now,
taking the time.
The only people that can use it are the best people in our society, Apple users.
It will. Yeah, currently it is just for Apple, but I am in the process of getting it into Android too. I've had a lot of people reach out to me for that.
I'm an Android user myself, but man, I get into some fun debates on that all the time. All right. Yeah. Well, Chris, I really appreciate you being on here and talking about the app a little bit. And you can find it on the Apple App Store. It's called AdjusterHub. I'll show it one more time. It's AdjusterHub. If you have any questions on that, you can get a hold of Chris by going to that app and, I don't know, giving him a 1-star rating. I'm sure he'll reach out to you at that point, right?
Yeah, you can also email us at admin@adjusterhubapp.com.
Admin@adjusterhubapp.com. Very good. Thanks again, Chris. And hopefully you guys actually start using that thing, because the more people that use it, the more useful it becomes.
That's right.
See you guys later.